What's up, guys? Today's video is going to be about fully surrendering your life to God. Alright, so to start, fully surrendering your life to God means that in all aspects of your life, you're going to lay them down and give God control. So you're going to stop trying to take control, you're going to stop pushing for things, and you're going to stop looking out for things that aren't Jesus's, God's will. So you take whatever God's will is for your life and you put it first. This might mean you give up a promotion at a job, or you give up a relationship or a friend, or anything that's not pulling you closer to Christ. If it's not in Christ's will, Jesus's will, for you to be living and doing a certain thing, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. So that's kind of what it means. It could be, for a few more examples, vaping. You might be the best Christian in the world, but you always vape and you have a vaping problem, and you can't go 10 minutes without hitting your vape because you're a fiend. And that's one example. Or maybe you have a girlfriend and you both love God and you do everything right, but you just can't seem to keep your pants on or something when you're hanging around each other. That's another example. You know, you might be doing everything right, but you got to fully submit. When you fully submit to God, life's going to be a lot better and you're going to be protected. You know, if you are living outside of Christ's will and you're breaking, or you're a commandment, or you're sinning, or you're doing something wrong, what do you think that opens you up to? The consequences of your own sin. And you don't want to deal with the consequences of your sin. Maybe that you not being sexually moral with your girlfriend leads to you having a baby, and then you break up and now you guys have a kid, and that could be problematic. And it's not always fair to the kid. Not to say that could be, it's not a blessing to have a child and all, but you know, it protects you from things like that. Or maybe you are trying to put your job before God and you chase after this job and you keep chasing and it's just not God's will. Well, you're probably going to learn the hard way, and you might even end up getting screwed or something bad happening that leads you to finally saying, okay, God, I'm gonna get myself over and I'm gonna lean in to finally accept your plans for my life. It could be, maybe you are having trouble drinking and you finally get a DUI. Now you're motivated to quit because you gotta blow a breathalyzer, you gotta pay thousands of dollars in fines or whatever because you were out being stupid and drinking and driving. I don't know. Sometimes God might have to bring you into a really low place in your life for you to finally say, okay, God, I give up. I'm surrendering you with my will. And you don't want God to have to do that to you. Maybe he won't do that to you, and that'll be even worse, because then you'll just be stuck in the sin that you've been trapped in for so long. So remember, it's better to live in God's will and for life to be kind of rough sometimes than to live within your own will, do whatever you want, and then have to deal with the consequences of your own actions. Accountability. You'll have to take accountability. You might say, oh God, why is this happening to me? Well, did you listen to God's will for your life? And then see how that came out for you. Or did you ignore God and then chase after your own lusts and your own wants in life, and now you're dealing with the consequences of that and you're unhappy? Well, maybe you should have listened to God in the first place and he would have protected you from that. So take a second and think about that. Take accountability for whatever you're not surrendering to God, and realizing that there's a problem between you and God. There's a beef in your relationship. So first, take that as fully give him everything. And it doesn't mean maybe you're addicted to vaping and you're trying to give it all to God, and you say, man, I want to give everything to God, but I can't stop. Well, take some time. It might take you a month or 2 or 3 or 4 or 6 or a year, who knows, to stop. But put a plan in place, put up barriers. God knows if you're actually trying or not. If you say, oh, I'm going to quit vaping, God, you tell him every day for 3 years and you just keep waking up and fiending in the morning, you're not really trying, you know. Fight for him. God knows when you're fighting for him, and he'll fight for you. He'll meet you in the middle. You'll be back to back with God fighting the fight, and that's a whole lot better than sitting in your own corner and being scared and saying, man, I don't have anyone who has my back, and if I fall, I'm falling hard. And that's what's going to happen when you don't live inside God's will. Like we talked about earlier, sometimes God might bring you really low to get you to live inside His will. You don't want that to happen. You don't want to go so far that God's got to kick you in the butt and to get your gears going to say, hey, I need you don't want Him to take you to rock bottom where you have no other choice except, you know, the 0.12 whatever, and stare at the wall in your basement. Just choose God. So just choose Him before that. If you're like me, you're an idiot, and I didn't choose God before that, so I got taken to a low point in life, and finally I surrendered everything, and I did it. But you know, what did it take for me to get there? It was pretty miserable, and I never want to have to go through anything like that stuff in my life again. And if I would have just listened to God's will and followed His choices, I would have been okay. So remember, God's will protects you. His laws, His rules, they don't kill the fun, but they kill the consequences of your own actions. If you live within God's will and your actions are pure and good, you don't suffer the consequences of sin. You don't have to worry as much about them. Bad things in life may still happen, but you're not going to have to worry about having kids with 10 different women, or getting caught by the police because you're out dealing drugs instead of getting a clean job, and suffering in some sense by maybe not making as much money and not having that thrill in life. Now you may work at Wendy's and it might suck, but hey, you may not get shot by the other drug dealer in your neighborhood. You may not get shot and stolen for someone taking the drugs that you're supposed to be selling for. You never know what happens. You never know what could happen. You might live outside of God's will for a certain amount of time, but it doesn't always last, and you don't want to find out what happens when the consequences of your poor decisions come around to actually for you to have to pay up on them. You don't want to have to live that. The other part of this is fully surrender to God. It's not a half surrender, it's not a 99%, it's a full surrender. You got to give Him everything, and God knows if you're not giving Him everything, and that's between you and God. It might be a slow process of you getting better. It might start by tomorrow you just saying less swear words, and that's the start of your full surrender. You might have to take one baby step at a time. It's probably not going to happen overnight. I can almost guarantee you it won't happen overnight, but just keep trusting God and know that He's good and He doesn't want what's bad for you, and that you can trust Him, and He's not going to give up on you. You know, if you fight for God, He's going to fight for you. And if you feel like He's not fighting for you, reevaluate, pray on it, ask God, say, what can I do? And it might take time. If you are watching this video because you're finally ready to full surrender, but you just really made a whole bunch of poor choices and now you're paying the consequences, well, unfortunately, you might have to suffer for a little bit, paying those consequences, dealing the dues that you now have to pay because you made some poor decisions, and it is what it is. You know, that's part of life. But don't sit back and say, oh man, but I'm not going to give it to God now, because you're compiling your problems, you're building them up more and more, and you don't want to do that. You want to just say, God, I may have messed up, but I'm giving myself to you. Here I am. Don't abandon me, God. Don't give up on me. Care about me. Know that I'm here and I'm trying, and fully surrender. God will meet you where you are. It doesn't matter how bad you've been, what you've done. God will meet you where you are, and it might take some time, and that's okay. You know, if you're a drug dealer and you're a gangster, you just got some girl pregnant that you didn't want to get her pregnant, you know, the hope might seem pretty grim, but the best thing about God is there's always hope. God says His will works no matter what, through even the good and the bad. All things turn for the glory of God, and that's biblical. So trust God that whatever happens, even if it seems like it sucks, it's God working His will, and you can sit back, relax, and know that you're going to be taken care of, and it's okay. Hard things might come in life. You know, Jesus didn't say, when you fully surrender to me, you won't be tempted by lust, you won't want money anymore, you won't chase after things. No, and actually it's the opposite. God says it's going to be tough. Pick up your cross daily and follow me. I mean, think about Jesus picking up that cross after being beaten and carrying it up a hill, knowing he's going to his death. That's the same thing that you kind of got to do every day. Except Jesus was innocent and you're not. Jesus didn't deserve that, and we do. But God paid that fine for us that we should have to pay. And now, because we're lucky enough to not have to pay that fine, we can follow God, give him our lives, and let him work his will, and just sit back, chillax, but also fight at the same time to keep working to get God's will to be the #1 thing in our lives. Life's hard, and I won't get as easier overnight. You know, you're gonna have to keep working at it, keep fighting, but you'll get there. And don't give up on God, because he'll never give up on you, no matter how bad you've been. If you're the thief on the cross 20 minutes before you die, and you have to look at him and say, God, here I am, I give up, here's my life, do your will through it. You know, the first person we know that really truly entered heaven and all, according to Jesus, is the thief on the cross. He's in heaven. He said, today you're going to be with me. Don't wait till you're on the cross hanging there for your crimes, having the, you know, paying for that level, because that's not even the worst part. If you don't fully surrender to him, you have the eternity on the cross essentially, and you don't want that separation from Jesus. Jesus is all good things, and all good things are Jesus at the same time. So trust in him and know that he's looking out for you, but give him everything, give him your all, show him you're trying. Don't half-ass it, so to say. Sorry for my poor language, but I'm just saying, you know, give him your whole entire try. And if it doesn't work and you fall on your face, congratulations, that's the path you're gonna have to take. Jesus says, the name of this channel is Narrow Roads, right? Jesus says many will take the wide and easy path that leads to death. And that's because it's easy to go the easy, smooth, paved road to death, and then you get there and it's horrible, and at the end of the road you find out it's miserable. But if you get on that narrow road, it might be harder to follow. You might fall off it day and night, but if you keep getting up and keep chasing after it, God knows. No one else has to know, as long as God knows. So just remember that God will take care of you. He's fighting for you. He's not going to give up on you. We'll leave it at that. And this is actually the second time I took this video. The first time I just didn't feel like I said the words I needed to say, so I gave it a retry, and hopefully this is better than the first time. Probably just post this video and won't even mess with the other one. And yep, so if you guys are watching and you want me to make a video over anything, leave a comment and I'll try to make a video on it for you. So other than that, we'll see you guys.